Hey guys, it's Katie Taylor, and this month's video collaboration with the creative design team is all about celebrating mothers. And my project actually is all about celebrating a day in the life of me using various stamp sets and even a brand new collection that you'll see in May.
To start out my Mother's Day project, I knew I wanted to do a layout and I knew I wanted it to kind of be a currently layout. So we have this new stamp set, All Day, Every Day, and it's just got some journaling prompts. And then that got me to thinking, what if I did most of my journaling, quote unquote, with stamp sets? So I went through and I just wrote down everything I do daily as a mom. Now, I know some of you watching may not be mothers, so this would also work for everything you do daily just as you, or everything you do daily as a teacher, something like that. And so I just brainstormed what I do on a daily basis, and then I went into my cataloging that I do of my stamps, and I searched those things and then came up with the stamp set numbers and then went and found them in my organization. So you can see here I've got quite a few stamp sets that fall in line with all of these things that I equate to currently being a mother in my household. So I'm going to pull some paper collections. Again, this is going to be somewhat random, and then we can get started. I am going to be using a kit that actually isn't available until May, unless you're a consultant or a maker with close to my heart, and I'll leave a link down below to join my team if you want to get your hands on this right now. But I usually don't show new product this far in advance, but this is gorgeous. And so I don't want to do this layout with something that I just mediocre like. I want to do this layout with something that I love. And this is the Hope and Kindness. So you can see the sticker sheet. It's got some cut aparts. It has some textured looking cardstock. Look at that craft cardstock that looks like it's just painted on. And then it just has some gorgeous patterned paper. And those are the front and backs of each one of those. So that is the collection that I will be using today. These are the two photos that I'm going to be using. And I've pulled some paper out. I'm just going to cut off the zip strips so I can kind of decide which ones to do. So my plan is to kind of do a half layout on the left where my pictures will be, and then all my sentiments are going to be on the right side of the layout with a little bit of the base page showing in the middle. But it's going to help to decide which of these patterned papers to use with the zip strips gone. This has to be my favorite patterned paper right here. Like if my husband would let me, we're in our sunroom, his man cave, if my husband would let me do that wall in this right here, I would do that. And then I'm not a wallpaper girl, but this too. I just love so much about everything about this paper packet. So those are cut off. And then let me actually start with the stamp sets and pull which ones I want to use. I went through all the stamp sets that had thin cuts, and I went ahead and cut those. And that way it'll make it stamping just a little bit easier. And I doubled up on some of them just because I may want those for cards as well. So I am going to clean this up and then go ahead and get these stamped down. And the other stamps that don't have thin cuts, we will just be stamping onto plain paper and like cutting out in pennants or something like that. So each stamp set, when I stamp the thin cut, the coordinating thin cut, I'm also wanting to look at that stamp set and see if there are any other sentiments that I want to use. And then that way, once I pack the thin cuts back into the stamp set carrier and the stamp set, I'm done with it and I don't have to pull it out again. So I've used that barbecue pit. I tend to be the pit master, I guess you would say. And so that's the only thing I want on there, except there is this sentiment that just says fire up the grill. So I've just got some blank white daisy cardstock. We all know that we have those. And I'm just going to pull from the colors that are coordinating with this paper collection. And again, those are always on the back of the zip strip. And I think I'm going to put this over the grill. And so I want it in a color that is definitely contrast with the grill nicely. So again, that one is the only one for that stamp set. And like I said, now that I'm totally done with that stamp set, I can put this grill back up, and then I can go ahead and pack that stamp in with this, and I'm done. So it is one and done. I do not have to pull out this stamp set nor this thin cut again. And I'm just going to continue with that with all the stamp sets that I've pulled out. I have cut all my pieces, and now I just want to gut this gorgeous paper right here. Not much is going to show, but I'm going to go ahead and leave 3/4 of an inch all the way around. So I have this left side always lining up at my 3/4 inch, and then I'm always starting my blade at 3/4 inch, and then I'm stopping where there's 3/4 of an inch left. Again, rotating my paper, aligning it up to that 3/4 inch. And again, you can do whatever border you want to. It kind of depends on how much is going to show. And so I just chose 3/4 of an inch. As long as you start and stop your blade somewhere in the middle of your edges of your paper, you should be good. And so, see, that is a sizable scrap that can be used for later. Now we can start assembling our layout, and I am just going to be sandwiching this pattern paper onto some white daisy cardstock, and then also adhering it down to this gorgeous floral pattern. Again, these are busy, so if you recall a couple of months ago we did busy patterns. And the way that I break up busy patterns is just by putting some cardstock in between the two busy patterns just to break them up. I did forget to mention that I have Edge Distressed added Harbor ink sponged all around the edge of this pattern paper, and I will do the same with all the other pattern papers as well. We've got that. I'm not going to do it on the white daisy. And now I'm going to adhere this piece. Now, if you notice, my pieces are going flush with the edge. Let me go ahead and trim off that little piece that is hanging over this. So it's going flush with the outside edges of the pieces that will be on my layout. The outside of my layout. And so once I adhere it down, there's 1/4 of an inch, or there should be. It looks like I'm going to have to trim this one a little bit too. 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So now we are going to start assembling this, and I am pulling out my Versamat because the two pieces of pattern paper are going to be across from each other and not touching. I just want to make sure that they're straight. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to the bottom of my Versamat to make sure that this base does not move. And this is sage. This is the light color of sage. And this is going to go 1/4 of an inch from the top and 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. And again, just make sure that you're working with the flush side. It's over on the flush side of this sage cardstock. So this is the same way. It's going to go 1/4 of an inch from the top down to 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. And as long as you start with the same 1/4 inch, you should be good as far as them lining up. And this was flush over to the right side. So we've got that, and that is how we are going to build on this layout. So just remove this adhesive with my Rub and Remove, And we are all good. So I'm going to center this back here, and I've got these two photos. I'm going to go ahead and lay those down because I pretty much know how those are going to be. So I'm going to have the one where my husband and I are in the photo up at the top, and then the one of just the kids and the dog, of course, at the bottom. And I adhered these down with 3D foam tape just to kind of add some dimension on this side, and as always, didn't put any around the edges just in case. And then I have cut the word mama from the block alphabet, and again this pattern paper to kind of bring this yellow. Now I know yellow seems like an odd color, but I just felt like it pulled in with our son's hoodie right here, and then there's that desert rose, but it kind of clashes with our youngest son's pink shirt. There's the back side, there's that desert rose. So I'm going to start with the M because it is the middle letter, and I'm going to adhere it down first. And before you guys come at me with, that's not the way you spell mama, there's actually multiple ways to spell mama, and this is one of them. And this is the one that I use with my children. And so that's how I'm spelling it. So now that I've got that middle M, now we can kind of work ourselves out. And you can either work yourself out to the right or the left. It does not matter. You just need the same spacing in between. And then this glue dries really quick. So you just kind of need to press down for a split second. And then you can go on to the next letter. One of the stamp sets I've pulled out to use is the mother definition. So I am just pulling out my Versamat. I've got the back side down. And I've got my Sundance ink pad. And I am just leaving this entire stamp set onto the little carrier sheet. Number one, I'm lazy to remove each one, and I want to use each one. So I'm just going to put this down and basically random stamp this definition all over this piece. And it doesn't matter if it's going to be a clean, crisp image, because as you know, we're going to be hiding most of this with all the other stamp sets that I used. So I'm just going to continue to ink this up and then move the stamp much like you would if you were random stamping anything else.
So you want to make sure that you do use some sort of masking so the ink does not get on the parts of their project that you do not want them on. So I've just added masking tape, and I'm going to go ahead and do more of the random stamping. And this is a perfect time to remind you that if you are liking this so far, go ahead and hit that like button. That way it allows YouTube to show you more videos of the same, and then it also helps me grow my YouTube channel in the process.
I do want to add that before I did that, I actually tried it on a scratch piece of paper to make sure it wasn't going to be too dark, too light, whatever. So even though it seems like I just randomly did something that could have ruined my layout, I did try that on a scratch piece of paper. We are now ready, I think, to put down all of my little stamped images. So I took the stamp set Scrappy Lady, and I definitely wanted her on there. So I'm going to lay out all my big pieces first. This is what I stamped to hide my little boo-boo up there. I'm going to lay down all the big pieces first, and that's going to make it a lot easier to fill in with the smaller pieces. So if you remember that barbecue pit, I wanted Fire Up the Grill with it. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to do that right there. I want this coffee, and then the little sentiment underneath it is Life Happens, Coffee Helps. Again, this is a sneak peek at a brand new stamp set. And then Go ask your mother. I may do right there. #1 fan. Definitely with all my kids and their sports. So I am running out of room. Let's see if I only use part of her. There's no reason for you to see her legs, right?
So I sped up this process, and I am just attaching each one of these little stamped images using either liquid adhesive or thin 3D foam tape. And again, I'm kind of just randomly doing it, making sure that there's not a whole lot of 3D foam tape in one area. But then I also want to definitely add dimension to a few of those images. So I'm going to continue to do that, again, speeding this up, but I wanted to leave it just so you can kind of see how it is done.
So I've got all that done. I do have this little space right here. And so I think I'm going to finish it off with stickers. And I like this. And I think I'm going to do a heart to signify I love this. So let me take the adhesive off using my anti-static pouch, and then we'll add just a little bit of 3D foam tape. Or I could do this love. So yeah, I think I'm going to put love this and then put that heart right there. And then I'm going to add another heart right there. And maybe even some of these hearts. Now I know you're probably thinking you're using all your heart stickers. That is why I love that our paper packets and our sticker sheets are only $9.95, so I can just buy as many of those as I want. So I'm going to add some 3D foam tape to there, and to make it easy, I'm going to use our 3D foam circles. And then I'm going to get these hearts added. And then I think we're probably done. I'm going to move this over here. So for the hearts, I'm going to use the small circles, and I'm going to use the non-stick micro tip scissors and cut just right through those circles. And that way it will allow me to put them on. There it is with all of those hearts, and some of those hearts, well actually all of those hearts are using 3D foam tape. So again, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Again, if you're not a mother, please feel free to use this just for yourself. This is part of the design team collab, the monthly collab. And so I'll leave a playlist to all the channels down below. Now keep in mind, these are the channels. So if you want to just skip from Mother's Day Project to Mother's Day Project or see all of them, make sure you're a subscriber to each one of the channels. And make sure you hit that little notification button so you'll be alerted the next time we each post a crafty video. And if you liked what you saw, please leave a comment and a thumbs up. I'll leave links down to all the products below. And remember that if you are really loving this paper collection, it is only available to Close to My Heart makers right now. So I'll leave a link down below for you to join my team if you want to get a head start on ordering this paper and using it. And then, of course, all the other perks that come along with being a member of my Stamp Paper Scissors team. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. Have a wonderful week.